What about this wacky weather, huh? Hot, humid, storms every 30 minutes. It's been that kind of a summer. I don't like it. Good morning, everybody. It's a Monday morning, 9:30. Time for another edition of Weber This Week. Hi, everybody. I'm Harold Weber, welcoming you to our show this morning here on FingerLakes1.com. Our expected guest was Doug McWhorter, the superintendent of grounds of the Seneca Falls Country Club. Unfortunately, we must report something came up with his schedule, preventing him from coming into the studio to do the show today. So, no Doug McWhorter. We'll try to get him on the show later in the year. But his priorities are obviously overseeing the golf club at Seneca Falls, and job comes first. So, we miss Doug. We'll try to get him on later this week. So, that leaves myself and Jimmy to hash over several sports topics, which with myself and Jim, we have no problem mounting up some topics to talk about. And Jimmy, welcome to you on a good old Monday. I understand you and the Hunt Dog played at Dutch Hollow, and your report is you guys did not walk away with any championship plaques.
Yeah, morning, Dog. We were over at Wasco for the two-man scramble at Dutch Hollow this past weekend, and we played pretty good. It was pretty wet over there, too, though. A lot of standing water. Greens were kind of slow and beat up.
Yeah.
But that's how it is this year so far.
It's been a wacky – I'm not a crazy fan of this weather pattern. I can't recall a summer like this, Jim, where we have had such a continuation. It's going to continue all week long, except for Friday. They're saying low 80s. But the rest of the week, it's going to be high 80s, maybe low 90s, hot, sticky weather. And, Jim, the problem is storms mount up later in the afternoon, and usually we get crushed with a quick beating storm. And I had one the other day. I was heading to the thruway to do a shift, and I drove from my apartment in Seneca Falls. I was getting on the thruway in Waterloo to go to Geneva, and I got on a route heading there, and I could not believe the skies opened up. I could not see from me to that camera that's in front of us, checking out the dog's looks this morning. It was so intense, I had to pull off the side of the road, which is not the safest thing to do. But that was downright scary. I mean, then I got to Geneva. They didn't get a drop. So it's
hit or miss.
It's unbelievable. So, and, of course, all the golf courses are just buried with water, a lot of wet conditions. And the Doug McWhorters of the world, the guys that run these courses and try to manicure them and get them updated with cutting grass and cutting greens and trying to prepare a golf course, it makes their job so insurmountable. And you, of course, with history of mowing greens and working as a grounds crew member for many years, you can relate to the problems that they face. It's a lot of difficulty.
It's frustrating because you'll get, 15 to 20 straight hours with no rain and warm, sunny conditions. And really, it's not that bad of conditions to do stuff outside. But then, rain for 10 or 15 minutes so hard it sets you back before where you started. So what we really need is 2 or 3 days with no rain at all, and things should be okay. But
yeah. And by the way, since I play at Seneca Falls and Jim's a member there as well, there's 3 words I hate to hear, and that's cart pass only. Of course, they made the decision yesterday to go cart pass only at Seneca Falls, and I'm sure they're not the only club that made that decision in the area. And, of course, that turns the dog off, and I'm spoiled because I enjoy driving to my golf ball. Because if you ever saw me play, I have no clue where it's going shot to shot. And I always tell the story, reason I get turned off by cart pass only, because if the cart path is on the right, I can assure you that my golf shot will be left. And that makes me have to walk across the fairway with at least 3 clubs, because I'm not exactly sure, even though I should know the shot for by now. I've only played down there about 18 years, off and on. I left there 2 years with a back problem. And I'm not a big fan of that. I know it's the way it has to be, but that's the announcement yesterday. And, of course, we decided, the 3 of us, myself, Brad Jones, and John King, to go to breakfast and not play golf. So we did get a report this morning that if you're a Seneca Falls Country Club guy and you're looking forward to ladies or guys going to play there today, it is 90 degrees today. So enjoy a round of golf at Seneca Falls. And I guess that's a decision the clubs have to make. And I was going to get into that with Doug, and we'll try to get him on later this year. Speaking of other sports topics, Jim, I don't know about you. I'm not a great tennis watcher, even though I used to love watching McEnroe and Jimmy Connors go at it. There are some feel-good stories that make my heart feel warmer as it is, and I think Andy Murray winning Wimbledon, a British citizen, one of their own. He's come so close. He finally knocked off the greatest player in the world right now, Djokovic, in straight sets, winning all three. Andy Murray, your 2013 Wimbledon champion, and I think that personally, Jim, is a great, great feel-good story for Britain.
First time in 80 years that
it's amazing.
Won that.
And how about the number 7? The event was played yesterday. He wins on 7-7. Virginia Wade, the last British individual to win a Wimbledon championship, obviously a female. She won, I believe, in 1977. 77 years ago was the last male person to win the Wimbledon, British citizen, and that was in 1936. So you could have a lot of fun with the number 7. So to me, I was excited to see Andy Murray win over, regarded, no doubt in my mind, the greatest player in the world right now, and that, of course, is Djokovic. Let's talk a bit about another topic that has come to mind here, and let's talk about the New York State Junior Am, speaking of golf. That is a celebrated tournament, and obviously you have a lot of game to play in that. That's going to be contested August 6th and 7th at the very nice Skinny Ellis Country Club, which I've had an opportunity to play many times in my lifetime.
First hole's a long par 3 at Skinny Ellis.
That's weird, yeah.
Weird. It's a tough start.
It is. Out of Lyons, New York, an athlete that really needs no introduction, Josh Desane, will be a member of that junior amateur event scheduled for August 6th and 7th. Our Seneca Falls' own John Sandless, who I've had an opportunity never to play with, but I've watched him hit the ball, and he can kill the ball. John Sandless of Seneca Falls will be participating.
He's a favorite, I'd say.
Yeah.
I think he's a favorite to win the whole thing, state champ.
That's awesome. And the Mid-Lakes graduate, Grant Waite, will also, of local interest, will be participating at the New York State Junior Am to be held at Skinny Ellis Country Club August 6th and 7th.
It's nice for the local kids that it's in Skinny Ellis, because it could very well be on Long Island.
Exactly.
Or somewhere in the Adirondack, so it's right in their back door. It'd be easier to get over there for some practice rounds. And I would, I'm looking for John Sandless to I'd be surprised if he didn't win.
And by the way, let's talk about a month from now, we'll be turning the world, not only will be turning, let alone the Finger Lakes region, to the PGA Championship at Oak Hill in Rochester. I know that they are probably working on their last-minute details. I know you told me you had tickets. I hope to get up there for a day or so to check out some of the action. But the world's greatest golfers will converge on Oak Hill in Rochester for Glory's Last Stand, the PGA telecast by CBS. And I don't know about you, but I'm getting kind of excited. The time is clicking off, and before you know it, we'll have major golf watched by millions and millions and millions of people around the globe, located 45 minutes away at Oak Hill.
Yeah, we got the British Open first to get through, and then the next major will be the PGA in Oak Hill, and we had Ryan Cannon on this show, the executive director, and that was about a month ago, and he was certainly excited. I have my tickets came in the mail. I have Friday tickets only. Last time it was here, I had the 4-day pass and went up 3 of those days. But I think just one full day on Friday should be good. But it's so much fun, and to get up there and see all these guys from across the world, who come to Rochester. So if it's anything like the last time that they were here, it should be a great tournament. Sean McKeel, of course, winning with that great shot on 18 to about a foot.
7-iron?
Yeah, I can't remember what he hit, but it was
7-iron.
It was a good, great shot when he needed it. So who knows what kind of drama will unfold this year.
Yeah, that's right. It'll be interesting. And, of course, major golf, you don't get very few opportunities in our lifetime to have major sporting events come to a geographical area within 50 miles of where you live or where I live. And this is an exception because Oak Hill has hosted Ryder Cup, major championships in the past.
U.S. Opens.
Been there, done that. I'm sure they will run a spectacular event. My good friend Brad Jones is working as a volunteer this year for the event, and he's all excited about his opportunity to rub shoulders with some of the great players of the world.
I'm sure they're hoping that it stops raining.
Oh,
I mean,
know.
That's got to be tough on them too, especially trying to prepare. I mean, it's a month away, but they're still, they prepare since last year for this thing, and then the rain is certainly something they didn't expect.
Well, the dog days of summer, if you're going to have a golf tournament and you have it in August, you have to expect hot, humid weather with a chance of T-storms. Basically, the calendar month tells you the story, and that's the problem with that type of event.
This is like Florida weather, though.
Yep.
It's hot every day, hot and humid every day, and every day you're going to get a downpour at some point.
Well, listen, Jimmy, we're going to talk about your beloved Syracuse football team. I understand, of course, nobody follows the sport closer than you, and you always follow your alma mater quite closely with all their sporting events. And certainly Syracuse now officially a member of their new conference. And, of course, you got good news to report. I was always picking on them the last few shows that I do about Syracuse, about them not getting the cream of the crop. And, of course, we always talk about 1 to 5 ranking. Of 5 is supposed to be a dead right superstar out of high school. A 4 is supposed to be a really great player. A 3, okay. A 2, a 1, I'm not sure why you're going. But tell us about it, Jimmy. You got a 4-star coming to Syracuse.
He's a wide receiver.
Yep.
Looking at some videos of him on YouTube. Kids at Kevin Williams or Kyle Williams. This guy, can't remember his name for sure, but he looked good on the tape. But the last time we got a 4-star recruit at Syracuse, it was 2008. And we had 2, Marcus Sales and Avery Collier. Now, it just goes to show you, Collier didn't do anything for Syracuse.
Right.
And Sales had a much maligned career as well.
Right.
He did have some success, but he also missed a whole season. He got arrested and suspended. So, and meanwhile, some of these 3-star guys were the ones that helped us to the Pinstripe Bowl victory.
Yep. And
kind of help Marone rejuvenate the program. So I don't get too excited. It's nice to see. For one thing, it's just nice to see because it means that can compete in that recruiting game with some of these other schools as we're trying to reestablish ourselves, Syracuse. But at the end of the day, 3-4 stars, who knows? You never know what you're going to get. To think that we got a 4-star and that means that he's going to translate into a 4-year starter and break school records is there's so much. He's 18 years old.
Yeah. And as you know better than anybody, these athletes have to hit the books, and if they don't hit the books, they don't play. So, which is kind of nice scenario. You are a student athlete, I guess, student being first.
Yeah,
so
supposedly. Yeah.
It'll be interesting. This is Weber This Week on a Monday, July 8th. We hope you're having a good Monday. Hope you had a good weekend. I know if you're like myself, thank God for Central Air. Oh, it was just brutal. The weather, we tee off, myself and John and Brad, we always play, and all our golf together, basically. And, we're teeing off at 7:30, 7:40 in the morning at Seneca Falls. And, my God, through 6 holes, you're sweating. This is starting at early. I know you play early, Jim. I can't fathom. And we were coming off the course the other day, and my good friend Ange Bonifiglia was by the pro shop waiting for his golfers, the Billy Ryans, the Jake O'Connors, Dice Jones, and all those cats, Kenny Alexander, and they were teeing off at 1 o'clock. It had to be 100, and Ange was sweating before he even put his bag on his cart, so...
Our tee times at Dutch Hollow this weekend were 1:39.
Oh, my God.
And 12:36.
Oh, my Lord.
So right in the heart, you brought a towel. I brought a big bath towel to keep, wiping out the sweat off of my face.
That's brutal.
And you bring a few extra gloves.
Yep.
Swap them out and, do the best you can.
It's hot.
I think you get kind of used to it, but you find the shade, Most tee areas have trees around them, so instead of staying on the path with the cart, you might go off under the tree.
Right.
Try to go from shade to shade.
Well, I know another thing that the grounds crew, Doug McWhorter, by the way, Doug was supposed to be joining us this morning. If you're looking for his face on the camera this morning, he had to back away. He had issues he had to deal with, so he couldn't come in for the show. Doug McWhorter, the superintendent of grounds of Seneca Falls Country Club, was supposed to be our special guest this morning. But he's dealing with issues at the club, which, of course, is his priority, and that's his job. We hope to get him back before the golf season calls it a year. You mentioned about the heat. I always know when it's really, really hot. The grounds crew at Seneca Falls, and I know all the other courses, they do a great job of filling up those water jugs that are surrounding. We have one over number 15 and number 5. We have one at
17
we have
13.
number 17, 13. Let me tell you something, folks. They were dry, not because they weren't filled, but it was brutally hot. And we were all hoping and praying we pushed that button that there was water spurting out of it. But they do a great job. So, hey, as long as you have liquids, and I always bring something with me as well,
Sure.
To keep hydrated.
Yeah.
Now, Jimmy, I got to tell you, I was thinking about things that drive me nuts when I watch sports on TV, and I do, as you do, watch a lot of it. I must tell you, there's one irritating factor that I came to like the other day. I always pick on the New York Mets, and I don't know why, just always do. And I know that Charlie, the owner of the Deluxe, is a big Mets fan. I know that there's a lot of Mets fans maybe checking me out this morning that always pick on me because I'm always anti-Mets. Excuse me for not remembering the days of Tom Seaver, the great miracle of '69. I just never thought they had a team that really, year in and year out, could contend. I know they got a lot of young arms.
In the 80s, they were pretty good. Strawberry, Gooden, Wally Backman, Howard Johnson.
That's 30 years ago.
Lenny Dykstra.
That's 30 years ago.
It is. That shows showing my age. I was a youngster. Used to play wiffle ball and pretend I was Darryl Strawberry.
But, they just are sort of a woeful operation. I always call them the Mutts. But what drives me nuts, and I'm only going to use the Mets as an example because they're not the only team that does this. Hypothetically, or not hypothetically, let's talk about data. Jimmy is the manager of a baseball team. His team has lost 11 of 12. On the 13th game, somebody gets up in the bottom of the ninth and hits a 2-run homer, and they win 3-2. Now, they've lost 11 out of 13. The team comes running out of the dugout, including the ball boy and the bat boy. They all meet at home plate, and they're jumping up and down like a bunch of whacked-out seventh graders. I'm sorry. That just drives the dog absolutely bonkers. A, why are you celebrating? You just lost 11 out of 13. B, you're 14 out. C, congratulate the kid that hit the home run. Go inside, take a shower, put on your clothes, and come back and try to win a game tomorrow. That, Jimmy, just drives me crazy when bad teams celebrate after winning a climatic great home run or a double or a triple, whatever, or a single. I'm sorry. Why the celebration? Does somebody look at the standings in the locker room and say, hey, this is our second win in 13 games? So I had to get that off my chest this morning. Right. I just can't take it anymore. By the way, as far as the Lakers and Dwight Howard, let's talk about this.
Let's take a break and come back.
All right, let's do that. Yeah. The producer-director says we're taking a break. This is Weber this week. We're just going back and forth, having some fun with some topics. We'll continue our dialogue after we hear from the great sponsors that make this show possible. Welcome back, everybody. It's the dog with you, Weber, this week. Another edition here on FingerLikes1.com. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. Hope you have a great week this week. Going to be a same weather pattern, baby. They're saying Friday could be our best day of the week. Low 80s, less humidity. I don't know about you, but I'm looking forward to that day. Let's talk a little bit about Dwight Howard. A lot of talk about, he was re-upping his contract. They were going to offer him a boatload of money to stay with the Lakers and Kobe. And I had thought, in my own demented mind, I don't think we need this guy. I'm like Kobe fan. I kind of like the Lakers, even though I don't think they got the material to contend unless they make some major changes. But in my view, losing Dwight Howard was no big deal because let's talk about this for a minute. Jim may disagree with me. When Dwight was with Orlando, he had a nickname of Superman. Well, I watch some NBA basketball. I'm not a big fan, but I do watch some. What's this guy do? A, he's a lousy free throw shooter. B, what other shot can he make besides A, a dunk, or B, a 5-foot jumper? I'll give you 5 seconds to respond. What can Dwight Howard do offensively besides dunk the basketball, which everybody can in the NBA, even if you're 4'3"? What has he got? He's a lousy free throw shooter. Yeah, he gets some rebounds. He's a big guy. To me, to pay that guy a boatload of money, I don't know what he's getting, 18, 20 million. I lose track of these ridiculous salaries. It's no big loss to me anyways. That'll free up a lot of money for the Lakers. They can make some moves and try to get some other talent in that on the West Coast. But as far as him going to Houston, yeah, he'll do okay there. But they're a young team. They got Harden now. He can match up with Harden as a teammate. I don't know about you, Jimmy, but to me, losing Dwight Howard was no big deal. No big deal.
Well, he was pretty good with Orlando, and then he didn't mesh well with the Lakers. Maybe it'll work out with Houston, although I don't see that combo of Harden or Howard. I don't think either of them are great leaders.
Yep.
But, the Lakers are done, too.
I agree.
Kobe's...
They're old.
Getting older.
Nash?
Yeah. You can't he's even older than Kobe.
Yep.
And you don't kind of wonder what they could possibly do. They're going to have to somehow transition from Kobe to some other superstar in the next 5 years. And I don't know if you find that guy in the draft or what, but I'm personally glad that this thing's over because I'm sick of hearing about Dwight Howard. Like you said, he's not that great.
He's not that great.
Yeah, I've listened to sports talk the past, week or two. You heard about two things. Howard, what was going to happen with Dwight Howard, and then Yasiel Puig getting in the All-Star game.
Right.
People are kind of saying that he shouldn't play in the All-Star game because he only played, half a season so far, and the other. But he got a ton of votes. But it's the same. This time of year is kind of slow for sports, and those were the two topics you heard over and over again. So every time I got in the car and turned on the sports talk radio, it was one of those two topics, and, it gets old after a while.
I agree. Hey, by the way, before we wrap up the show, let me remind you that our upcoming schedule here, myself and Jimmy are going to be introduced to a new sport on Thursday night. Jim and myself are going to go to Waterloo. We're not sure exactly where we're going yet, depending on the weather. Pickleball. Oh, my God. Eat a pickle with a sandwich? Love it. I've heard of pickleball, never seen the game, never understood the game, don't understand what it takes to win the game. But the dog, God willing, will lace up his sneakers, and Vanessa Nye from Seneca Falls, along with Mike McCoy out of Waterloo, who are involved in the sport quite heavily, they'll be on the couch together next week to talk about pickleball. And what Jim's going to do is bring his camera and take some film, maybe of the dog falling down and making an idiot about himself playing pickleball.
If we're lucky.
If we're lucky. And Jim would definitely put that on his network 24 hours continuous if I were to fall playing pickleball. We're going to have some fun. We're going to be there a little while. Check it out. I'll get the sneakers laced up and see if I can play this game or understand the game. And I'm sure if you want to come to Waterloo to see the dog fall and look like an idiot, because, I'm not an athlete. Everybody knows that. I ran track for, 2 weeks, and then they cut me from the squad. So... my pedigree for an athlete is not very good. But, Vanessa, if you're checking us out this morning, getting ready for your show next week, I will lace it up, God willing, if I don't fall and break my leg before then. So, Vanessa and I, along with Mike McCoy, I wonder if Mike McCoy has fun and his friends and family ever say, hey, are you part of that Hatfield McCoy? I just had to use that. I've always thought of that. They'll be here next week talking pickleball. We'll be there Thursday night, myself and Jim. And Jim will be shooting some film to show during our interview. They'll be here next week to talk about this hot sport taking over the nation called pickleball. On the 22nd, I will not be doing a show. I'm not sure if Jim wants to do something on the 22nd.
I'll be here.
Yep, Jim always is here. The 29th, we stay on the topic of golf because that seems to be the hot topic. The eccentric billionaire, Norm Sherman, who's a good friend of mine, he will be appearing, and he does some great impersonations of Bill Clinton. He will be the guest on Weber this week on the 29th. Owner of Silver Creek Golf Course. Owner of Silver Creek. Also, his family's involved, and of course, he owns more than just Silver Creek. Norm does. So
Crooked Pines in Macedon.
Oh, yeah.
So Big Oak.
Oh, yeah. I call him the eccentric billionaire. He'll be with us on the 29th and staying on golf. Long time, lived in Seneca Falls, was born in Waterloo. Nick Serafino. Remember that name? The young superstar golfer, now, of course, working as a head pro, having been doing his duty at Seneca Falls and doing a great job at his present job.
In Lakeside in Syracuse.
Yeah. And he's a good young man.
I used to caddy for him, and I'll have some stories from back in the day when I was carrying his bag around for some of these tournaments and some of the people we played with.
Sure.
Nick was able to advance through the first round of U.S. Open qualifying twice in the time I caddied for him, and so the next step we took, which was one step before actually going to the actual U.S. Open, we would play with, and we played alongside in our group PGA Tour players, and there was a ton of other PGA Tour players there at the event that we didn't play with, and it was awesome. I really loved that. My
fondest memory of Nick Serafino elevating his golf game, he got invited. He qualified for the BC Open.
Yep.
Enjoy. And myself and Mary, we got a busload of people leaving Seneca Falls Country Club to support our pro Nick. And I remember he was playing with Scott McCarron.
Do you remember who was on his bag that day?
No, I do not.
Senator Mike Nizzolio.
Oh.
Now, that's a sore spot for me.
Okay.
Because I was his caddy.
And he dumped you for Mike?
And he bagged me for the Senator. For that big event.
Wow, I'll have to needle Nick. But we watched Nick play with Scott McCarron. I didn't know who Scott McCarron was. He's a graduate of UCLA, I believe UCLA. But McCarron, of course, has had a pretty good pro career. He's not doing much now, but he goes on tour once in a while. But he's, I think he's won a couple of times and made a bunch of money.
Yeah.
Scott McCarron, a little short guy, but I remember him playing with Nick Serafino. So those are some good memories. So again, Vanessa and I, Mike McCoy talking pickleball next week. I won't be here on the 22nd, the 29th. Norm Sherman comes in the house. And on August 5th, Nick Serafino comes back. And we used to have Nick on a lot when he was in the area. Look forward to seeing Nick and talking the game of golf and a whole lot of other topics as well. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, it's always a slice having you with us on a Monday Weber This Week show. And again, we apologize for not having Doug McWhorter here, the superintendent of grounds. We were going to get nitty-gritty, down and dirty, and those were those folks that really manicure these courses. They get dirty, man. You know they worked their day when you see the hands full of gravel and dirt. So we'll get back, hopefully get Doug on before the golf season ends. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next week. That's another edition of Weber This Week. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.